Welcome to the Motivation Without the Hype podcast with your host, Gez Perez. He's an author, high-performance coach, and motivational speaker. This show brings you inspiring messages and interviews to unleash your greatness in life and in business. So let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome to Motivation Without the Hype podcast show. My name is Gez Perez, a former procrastinator into an action taker. We bring you inspirational messages and interviews, including motivation insights, tips, principles, and proven strategies that you can take action on without the hype in unleashing your greatness in life and in business. Now, we appreciate you plugging in and spending time with us, and we have a very special guest. And I'm super grateful to have her on our show. Her name is Lillian. Now, she's a peak performance coach with 15 years plus years of entertainment experience. She helps entrepreneurs around the world see a clear path to their goals in life and turn their ideas into reality, maximize their revenue potential by activating their human potential, and set a secure foundation to live a happy, healthy, and prosperous lifestyle with a step-by-step proven, guys, I said proven, blueprint to create your paradigm shift. Guys, let's all put our hands together and let's... Lillian, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
No,
Hello,
you are
everyone.
awesome. Now, Lillian, to those who don't know you yet, please tell us about yourself and what you do.
So you gave me such a beautiful introduction. I think
Oh,
you
you're
really
awesome. That's
recapped it
amazing. I'm like,
all.
wow, that's a wow factor right there.
But yeah, thank you. But I think to add on a little bit, what you're saying is everything that he said, and plus, what I find that's really fun and cool, and we're going to talk about today, is I did have 15 plus years of entertainment experience, specifically in movies and TV and digital. And what I have learned that is so fascinating is you could apply a lot of these filmmaking skills and acting skills into real life, and then that's how you manifest what you want. So that's what we're going to talk about today, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm really curious, and I'm just excited at the same time. Like, wow, how do you put that perspective together that really makes that paradigm shift for success? And there's so many things that you've mentioned, particularly in the article, and you guys got to check it out. I'll put that link as well on the provided show notes on the Formidable Woman in Mag article. And one of the things that she said, with Lillian said, she said, it's our birthright. I love it. It's our birthright to live the life you want. Everyone and anyone can be rich, and you cannot allow, I'm just paraphrasing here, not allow the outside noises or environment to control them. And I love what you said, Lillian, as well. You mentioned here as well, once their beliefs is straight and the goal is cleared, paradigm is shifted, everything will start to change rapidly from the inside out. And I love that. What's it like to be, and I know it's been a journey for you from where you are to where you are right now, kicking goals, loving life, and changing people's lives. But if we go back just a little bit, what was it like to be in the entertainment industry? And what was that shift for you that you made that pivot in your life?
So, before I go into that, I want to
Yeah,
just,
please.
everyone who's listening and even you guys, I'm sure we're already on the same wavelength, but, how would life be if you're living a life based on what you want and not what you have to, right? I think that's a really important thing. And we talked about the belief system. That's your BS. That's your belief system. So, there was a moment, I'll never forget this moment that changed my life. It was 2019. I woke up on my friend's couch in Hollywood, and I had lost everything. I had lost my marriage. I had a new single mom, like struggling single mom. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I was, in my whole career as it went up, I was a Hollywood executive. Somebody that had something to say, and I had no idea who I was. And I would never forget that moment, because it was that moment in my life that I decided that I'll never be in that position again. It was that moment, there was that breaking point of, okay, so who I am, what is my goal? Because I followed everything that I thought, get a good career, the resume marriage, living in the beautiful house in Los Angeles, right? I did all that. And then I realized, even as an executive, I was doing it because I want to. I was doing it because I have to. So that was the biggest turning point. Because you get to that point, well, I got to that point, and I'm 38 now, but I was 35 at the time.
You don't look it.
Oh, thank you. I was 35 at the time, and my culture, we talked about paradigm. For those who don't know what a paradigm is, it's your habitual way of thinking and your belief that all shaped us, right? From our DNAs, our culture. I'm in Los Angeles, you're in Australia, we have different cultures, and then you've got the school system. So in my belief, my BS at the time was, I'm 35 years old, my marriage ended, I don't know what I'm gonna do, I am effed. That did not serve me well, right? So, you talked about how, as an entertainment executive or being in entertainment and applying this and making that paradigm shift, how that apply. What I've learned was life is like a movie. It is like a script, right? At that time, that wasn't working. So now I'm like, okay, so what kind of person do I want to be? What is my story? How am I going to change that? And this is where the filmmaking fun technique comes in, right? It's really fun because it's like, okay, if this isn't working, instead of working on and trying so hard, what I had to do is really take that pause. I always say this, we got to slow down to speed up, because working harder is not, I've already grind myself to the ground. I was in depression, okay? Like, it got to that place. But what was fun and the creative process was when I picked up the pen and paper and just started to write my movie. So this is when I became my own writer, right? Should I just keep going? Because I could go on. I love this stuff. I could get...
No, we want to understand the story. Yeah, keep going.
Okay. Yeah. So really it was that moment was like, understanding where I was at the time and where I want to go. And not revisit everything that went wrong, because that was the problem that I had. I was revisiting, I was going to therapy. And by the way, therapy are good. I'm not saying it's not good. But in my life and my experience was I was going to therapy so much, talking about my problems over and over and over again. And what happened was I was revisiting those problems. I wasn't moving forward, right? And I was even given Prozac to just help me with my anxiety. Right, but what happened was in my mind is because I keep creating these mental images of the problems. That's why I felt blocked. I felt stuck, right? And when you're creative and you really just take this time, for me, I had to redefine this whole meaning. I was told growing up that stop daydreaming, be realistic. Maybe some of you guys can resonate, huh?
Yeah, and what made you that decision? You mentioned about revisiting the past, but what was that time when you said, this is it, I'm making that shift, I'm making that change, and I'm moving forward? When was that, and how did you do that? Because sometimes it could be very challenging, for many people who are experiencing life, who go through the ups and downs. They're probably in that situation, maybe not in the same scenario, but maybe in that same situation where they can't break through, is because they're still revisiting. What would you do, or what would you say to them that say, hey, there is another way, you can actually do this, because I've done it as well?
So the moment I made that decision was when I woke up in that apartment, that couch, that day. It was a dingy apartment, because it was a breaking point. It was that point that was like, enough is enough, right? And then what was my drive was my burning desire. I have a son. He's now 7 years old, but that time he was 4 years old. And he looked at me. I was crying. He was like, is everything okay? So you have to imagine someone who thought I had it all, working a very glamorous business at the time, right? I would shadow and I would work with a lot of A-list celebrities and directors. Had everything I thought was right, and then I lost it, and I'm crying. My son was like, Mommy, is everything okay? And I told him, this is what I told him. I said, Mommy just fell, but I'm going to get back up. And I say that because since he was a baby, when he was crawling, when he tried to walk, when he falls, I never held him up. I'll help him. I was like, you get back up. You just get back up. Even when he was scootering. But that was a defining moment, because I wasn't going to be there. I was like, this cannot happen again. On top of all that, I was raised by a single mom. So a lot of things were, I was paralyzed in my own mind, my BS system, right? Because I was raised by a single mom with 2 kids. We lived on food stamps. We lived in a motel. And, it was a very, very tough. There was a lot of trauma. So the idea to get a divorce and feel like that was a failure, and then the biggest fear at that moment was, I'm not going to let my son go through that. Like, I can't do that. So that was the desire. I had a very strong desire to write. I'm going to use my real language at the time, because I was like, enough is enough. I was like, to rise the F up. Like, I need to get back up. And if I don't do it, who's going to do it? Right? And floating around with a 4-year-old at the time was just not it was just not the solution for me. So that's when everything started to change. And that's when I really started, it was almost like, because my desire was so strong, even I felt like I was uncomfortable, nothing seems logical, everything went become crazy. It was like, I basically forced myself to do the work. I'm like, this isn't working. I gotta move, and I got to move fast. Because by then, by the way, backtrack a little bit, by then, I was floating for a while. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, like a week. I was out of my old house for a week. It was kind of, I'm going to stay with this friend for 2 months. I'm going to go to Taiwan to see my mom for 3 months. And then I come back here and I'm floating at this friend's place. And so it was like you could call it homeless, but I like to call it couch surfing, right? With a kid. And there is no stability. So by then I was towards I would say the end, I was like, enough is enough. It's like, it has to change, and it has to change. And then when I mean that is, there is a shift. Like, really understanding when you have a shift of seeing something, a clear path in you. At that time, I didn't have a clear path yet, but I had a clear direction of, I'm staying here is not going to be okay. I had a direction, I had a desire of I'm going to reclaim myself, and I'm going to figure this out, because I'm not going to get stuck anymore. So that was the first step, right?
Man, I think through that journey has brought you to a place of resiliency, and kind of straighten that pathway to say, you know what, I've gone through this, I'm over it, it's okay, it's done. But now, what I do have in front of me is the choices and decisions I'm going to make, because the choices now that I'm going to make, it's going to determine my future.
Yeah.
So for you, I know you talk about, what you've done through the highs and the lows. But why is it important in terms of relationships with money, sales, and self-worth? You talk about that as well. Why do people stop themselves from doing that?
So I'm going to tie this to my experience and why I'm so passionate about these subjects. So I went to school for film school. I went to UC San Diego, Visual Arts Media. I started my career at VH1, Ice Cube. I did a lot of movies and just kind of took off from there. And I worked a lot of international films, right? The one thing I never learned, at least in the arts and the creative world, was sales. And I didn't understand how important that was. And again, that turning point when I lost everything was, I can't work for someone anymore. Like, even at the point when you're raising money from investors, it's, you're still gonna have that board, you're still gonna respond to them. And I just realized that you are your goals, your drive, your talents, and your ability equals your revenue. That's when everything started to change. And I think a lot of people in their nowadays 20s to anywhere later on, but a lot of people, especially executives, when they hit that 30, 40, it's like, what am I going to do? I'm going to trade more time for money. And then it's like, then I do it for myself. Then how do I do it for myself? Now the how to do that is to understand what that vision is. Like, what do you really want to do? And that was the one thing that really served me very well when I apply that every time. Like, what do I really want to do? Right? And then always set a goal over there. And then your self-worth. We talked about self-worth, right? So people in real estate and insurance, even filmmakers that's selling movies, everything is sell. If you really narrow it down, everything is sell. Communication is sell, right? If you value your service and your worth, and you have a good healthy relationship with money, as in money will come and go. Money is meant to circulate. That's where you remove the money block. And that's when you're able to go up and show up. This is when I call the act as if, the acting technique.
I love it.
As that
As if.
character of who you see you are, right? And perform the service and ask for the sell. And that's a difference because, you know, really understanding this whole meaning of manifestation, right? Like, before I became a student of the subject, I was literally just like, oh, manifestation, you just think about it, money's gonna come. No. It's, you have this thought, this idea, and this vision, and then you feel it. Like, that's when you believe. You gotta believe it, and then you take actions. One of
I
the
think
most common
that's the problem, right? I think that's the
yeah,
real problem for a lot of
action.
people when it comes to manifestation is I manifest, manifest, I believe, I believe, but there's no substance to what they do, and I think that's the real part. It's
Yeah,
be do have. So, like for you, it's so good that you mentioned about the belief systems and we through our thoughts. But if there's no resonance in terms of taking action, then it's not gonna get fulfilled, right?
yeah.
It's yeah.
And you're gonna feel uncomfortable. Like, just know that you're gonna feel uncomfortable. You know, you're gonna fall and make mistakes, and that I call that the trial and error. And what I did is I redefined the definition with failing a mistake. You know, I used to get paralyzed by that because my mom was very hard on me, especially with my grades, and I was not a good, like, I was an art major, so I was not like the straight A. You know what I mean? Um, and but redefining that, meaning, you know, okay, every decision that I make is a decision, and it's based on the highest awareness that I have learned. And by going through this, I'm gonna learn something. I'm gonna have an experience. I'm gonna come out a new person. But then nothing changes because people are so scared of failure, of failing. So they don't they because they're so afraid they can't make a decision, or they make a decision based on fear, which is what I did in the past. I made decisions taking on jobs, working with people, not because of what I want, and I even go against my tuition, but because I had to, or I thought I had to take care of my family. And then guess where that led? It was it was it was we had money coming in that was not lasting, right? It wasn't sustainable. I wasn't happy. The marriage obviously didn't work out, and then everything shattered, right? So it's really understanding what manifestation means and taking massive, massive action and be willing to have your trial and error. That's what I like to call it.
Well, that's good. I love perspective like that because not many people want to go through that trial and error.
Yeah.
They just want to go through the results, but they don't realize that in between there is a bit of a resistance. But that's when you build a lot more resiliency. And I think I've seen that, like what you've shared today, and it's life changing. And to hear that, it's like, wow, there is hope. There is another way that we can actually do this. And you put things so much in perspective, and I think it's because of your entertainment industry where you capitalize everything in terms of the visuals, the stories, and things of that nature, and you put it all together as a end to end type of process. Um, can you just share your concepts of script writing, producing, character development, and casting? Because
Yeah.
those concepts, when I went through, I'm like, man, this is phenomenal. Like when you're able to depict that and put it together, it's like, yeah, man, that is awesome. Can you just share that with the audience?
Yeah. So, you know, uh, for everyone that is listening, I really want you to get into the mindset right now that you can create the life that you want. Okay, that's only going to work if you want to create the life that you want. Right? Earlier, I said to make those changes and make those shifts, you got to know where you're at and you got to know where you want to go. Right? And this is where the script writing and all this cool stuff comes in. So, here's the thing, we are all creative. If you think you're not, that is like a belief that someone told you, right? But we're all creative beings, and we all have this thing called the imagination, right? So when I say the script writing, the first thing is we want to know our story. What is your story? For me, my story changed when I was said 35 years old. I thought this was it. Like, I was like, I'm doomed. I found depression. And then I had the superhero moment in my mind. My son gave me that moment. You know, literally, like it's like Wonder Woman. It was like me coming out from the rock. I'm like, no, this is just the beginning. right? And you can
Yeah.
you can see it because like I can see it, I can feel it. I'm like, this is just the beginning. I went through all of this not to stay down. I went through all of this because life happens for me, and now I have a story to tell. Right? That's the difference. And that was the change because I had that narrative in my head. All of a sudden, I went from a victim to a superhero in my own mind, right? But using that creative imagination for yourself. So, what is your story? You know, like you want to think because what you think, thoughts truly are things. Thoughts are things, right? I mean, we're doing a podcast. I'm in Los Angeles, and you're in Australia, and everything's like locked down. It's like it's not like I could fly into Australia. We're doing this because there was a thought, right? That hey, let's connect, let's do this. But understanding what your story is, and the thing is, like we're actually using that every day, whether you know it or not. When you know it, you're consciously aware. That's when we create the life that we want. When we don't know it, this is what that thing called the paradigm, that habit, that habitual way of thinking, a belief that you have yourself will start taking control of your life. So that's the difference, and that's why script writing, the screenplay, your story is key. How do you want to be living your life? Now here's the producing part. This is the fun part. Is how do you want to live your life? What's the budget? Right? I ask a lot of people, what's their financial goals? Throw out random numbers. Why do you need that money? I don't know. So, money, you know, if you don't use money and you have a stack of money and you're gonna stay in your apartment for like the next 10 years, and you can't use it, what does that become?
There's
I
no
mean,
use for it. You become stale,
right?
stagnant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
So
stuck.
it's yeah, it's just there. It's like you can't do anything with it. But let money be, you know, your servant. So sadly, including my old self, you know, I was slaved to money. But it really should be the other way around, right? So know the life that you want to live. Like how many times do you want to be traveling? What kind of house do you want to live in? Right? How do you want to be traveling? Right? And then come out with a budget. What kind of clothes do you want to be wearing? Right? Really think about that. This is your life. You know, what kind of food do you want to be living? Do you like to eat out more? Do you like home cooked? Do you like organic? But get into these details. Like for me, my drive has always been creating a business and having a lifestyle so I can raise my son, right? So, and I want to travel with him around the world. So this is all the stuff I put in. So that's when the producing comes in, because you want to know how much money that you need to live the life that you want, and be lavish about it. It's your life. Honestly, no one can say no because you're the one that's living it. Opinions are cheap. Everyone's gonna give you their 2 cents.
Yeah.
It's up to you
It's
if you
only
want.
2 cents.
Yeah, everyone's gonna give you something. Oh, that's not good enough, or this is good. Like, but you make that final decision. So that's the producing part, and trust yourself that you're so creative. You're gonna be able to come up with all these ideas. Having a solution to a problem, that's also a creative process. Okay, to get there, right? Directing. You're the director of your life. Now you know the budget, how much you want to live. You know the story. Now you're directing. You're taking actions step by step. And you have to direct. You got to lead yourself there first. Right? That's leadership. Every entrepreneur, the reason why I love working with entrepreneurs is because you are your money. I look at that. I look at whatever you believe, whatever you see, you're the one person that's going to be growing your business, growing your life, growing your team, growing everything, whatever you want in mind. But you got to lead yourself. And that's directing. Because when you lead, people are going to come into your life. The universe is going to start to respond. And when they come, you're the one that's going to tell them what you want. That's the difference with leading a conversation, leading a sale, leading a relationship, right? So be more proactive instead of waiting. Oh, can I get that client, or can I get that job? Like, ooh, does that guy like me? You know, lead. That's how I looked at it. Just direct them. You direct them and follow your heart and then see what happens. You know, I always ask myself a question every day when I set my daily tasks to move to my big goal: is this helping me closer to my goal, or is it taking me away from my goal? It's very simple. It's that simple, and you always want to be moving towards it, right? That's how you're directing yourself, right? Casting. This is my favorite part. Believe it or not, you have control with who is in your life. This goes with relationships, friendships, business, employees, your whole surrounding. You know, I remember Les Brown. I remember he said something a while ago and I heard, and it was just like, it shook me a little. He said when he actually finally realized this fact, like he's heard it so much time, but when he actually internalized and realized it, he ditched all his poor friends. He was like, because I can't hang out with you guys anymore. Right? And then for me, when I moved, I had to leave the friends that I feel like was not, was giving me a lot of loving advice, and they're still in my life, but I had to kind of have that temporary kind of me time, because I am like changing everything in my mind right now. It's like you're going through this massive reprogramming. I don't really have time for like other people's like opinions and all this stuff getting into my mind, right? But to get very clear and then to take action, right? And then one thing, the reason why I say that is there's one point when everything felt like it was falling apart, right? I mean, going through a divorce is always traumatic, but when you really go through it, it's the whole self-image, the confidence goes away of who I am. And I've also was so jaded, so like burnt out by the business as well in Hollywood. I just made a decision, you know, like everything's gonna change, and realizing in my goal, oh, media is still a part of it. The only reason why I didn't like it actually was the people, and then I can't blame the people because it is who I am for allowing that to happen, right? So taking that responsibility, but owning up to, okay, this is my story, this is my life, this is what I'm gonna do, and then this is why I just like let go and let God and believe in the power of manifestation, and just take it every step of the way, because my mindset completely shift too. My mindset went from I'm 35, I am a struggling single mom, I can't do it, I don't know what to do, right, to depression, to no, this is just the beginning. Not only that, I'm going to have my own business. I'm going to create a name for myself. I'm going to have a new family, which I do now. I'm not married, but I've manifested another single dad, and our kids are best. It's like I can't even explain to you like how grateful I am, right? And then I have media partners. So I still have a few projects that's set up right now, but these people just came into my life, right? Because I made a very clear decision that I was going to move forward. I'm not saying ditching everyone in the past completely, but because my mindset was changing, so I needed to surround myself with people in growth mindset and away from what I used to call more the toxic, because there's a lot of people, if they don't succeed, and it's all the negativity, and I can't be a part of that, right? So it's
There's so
making those
much
changes. So,
there's so much truth in that.
yeah.
Like, you just went through a step-by-step process in terms of living an epic life, because when you think about script writing, you talk about the story, and then the producing, where the budget, you got to state your goal. And if I can just not many people, particularly with the financial goals, not many people actually state that, because there's kind of like a fear factor. It's because of the belief system about money. But if
Yeah.
you're able to shift that, then you're able to internalize it, and then it comes into abundance. And the character being the leader, character development and casting in terms of the people. And you're exactly right. If you're making that shift and you want to level up, I don't say you cut your friends off. I'm just saying that you cannot associate with them, because what they say, what they do, their mindset kind of actually, influences you. But if
Mm-hmm.
you want to level up, it does take a decision. And that's why I tell my friends, I tell my clients, hey guys, look at your phone and just block them temporarily, right? Because you got to make that decision. And the five closest people you're with, the books that you read, the insights that you receive is the person that you're going to become. And I respect you, Lillian. Like,
So
what
good.
you've done and what you've done is so courageously. bravery, because it takes guts. It really takes that decision to say, you know what, I don't want to live that life anymore. And you made that choice, and look what it's got you into. It's gone to a clear path for you, and now you experience your self abundance, the people that you want to work with, the clients that you want to work with, and you set that you set that foundation for yourself, and it's a different type of shift. And I see that. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's just
Thank you.
amazing.
Oh, here's another thing too. Just want to add on to what you said. The financial goal to move. So when I first started, when I set these goals, because I came from a past where when I set these goals, I have to hit it. If I don't hit it, what happens? All these negative self. Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm a loser. I can't do it. Right. And then I go into this rat race. So let's redefine that. Goal is for you to grow into, not to get. That changed my everything. Right? And I even change that word goal. I look at it as, okay, this is my end result. Because it's happening. Right? And that's why, that saying, dream big! It's like everywhere. It's like in the bathroom, in the coffee shop, on the mug, dream big! But why is it so many people don't? Right? So everything ties into the belief system. And the bigger that you dream, like, I went into this. You dream so big, what are you going to lose? You're not going to lose anything. But what are you going to gain? Best case, right? You're going to get that goal. You're going to get there. But you want to grow into it. But that's the best case, right? Okay, say you didn't get to that goal. But let's say your goal is $1 million. You didn't get to that million. But you still got 800,000, right? Because when you think big, you're inspired. So if I'm not scared of my goals, I'm not in the right direction because I can't stay in the comfort zone, right? So it's being uncomfortable, doing something that you've never done before that you want to do, like you want to do it, big and exciting, that scares you and excites you, right? And then you're gonna grow into it. You're gonna grow into it, and we said earlier there's an incubation period. We talked about earlier, people just want the result right away. But the thing is, there's an incubation period to prepare us to get to that end result, right? So grow into it. Like, look at the baby. When we were all babies, let me get this focused. Okay. When we were all babies, how many times did we fall? And then we all got back up and look at us running, right? Swimming, doing all this stuff. So it's that growth process, just knowing that we're always growing into something. And it is up to us on how big we want to grow into. Right?
Wow. I'm kind of like in awe of you because, there's so many truths that you've just mentioned. And I know 100% that the listeners that are listening right now through this podcast are like having mic drop moments and just aha moments because it really resonates to what you provided as an example, real life example. And there's snippets or blueprints of really living that life that you really want, but creating that paradigm shift, which is fantastic. Lillian, I always ask to every guest that's on the show, what is your meaning of motivation without the hype? And how do you use motivation for your personal success?
Oh, great question. So that's the big goals. So, I'm sure a lot of people could relate. I used to go to these motivational events, I watch these videos, I read all the book, and I feel great, but I couldn't get those results. And I was trying, right? But then it was a big goal. The one that scared me and excite me, but I want it. I have a desire, right? And that is my life. I can see it, I can feel it. I'm like this little girl and so like, it has to get done, it's gonna get done, let's do it. Right? That's my motivation. That's my inspiration. That's what I get up every single day. Do things that I normally don't do. That's when I start to change because I have that North Star that I am following. Right? I always say this. It's like driving. When I have a direction and I know the end goal, the end destination, I probably am going to take the wrong turn, right? I'm going to learn that this is a one way, I can't do this. But the thing is, whatever I'm doing, I'm always on that way. And that inspires me because I see the end. It's not just like I'm dreaming and hoping. That's the first step. You want to dream. You want to fantasize. You want to see what your life is. But you want to be very clear with the end destination. And that inspires me every single day. And that is my motivation, because when you have that for your life, you don't need anyone else. You self-motivate yourself.
Virtual high fives. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Thank you so much, Lillian, for your time, guys. To those who are listening and watching this podcast show, for more information and how you can get in touch with Lillian, you got to get connected with her. Follow to her, subscribe to her, and all the links are provided in the show notes as well. And also that article that I mentioned earlier on in the episode, check that out as well. It's going to inspire your life. Now, if this episode has been very helpful and uplifting, we'd love for you to write a review to inspire more listeners to get plugged in. We will continue to provide high value content on each and every episode. Now, if you don't mind sharing this podcast show on social media, but inviting others, it would mean the world to me. Every time you tag me, we will get the opportunity to share those posts. And together, I said again, together, we can make a difference in the lives of others through inspirational episodes just like this. So there you have it. In closing, continue to unleash your greatness in life and tell yourself that I can, I will, and I must. We'll see you on the next episode.